I'm pooping every 2 days. Is that normal?
So excited to answer this week's listener question from Marie. Marie asks, I'm pooping every 2 days. Is that normal? So I love this question, and I actually get questions and messages like this all the time. Everything from this Marie's question about pooping every 2 days to I have runny poops and I'm bloated. What should I do? So I wanted to get really down and practical in this week's episode to talk about poo, because it really does tell you so much about yourself. So I've called this episode, What Does Your Poo Say About You? And it's just so important for you to know this, for you to teach your families this. The first thing is, it's really important to ask yourselves a few key questions. So the questions are, how often are you pooing? In this particular example, we know Marie is pooing every 2 days. First of all, not enough. Okay, so the way things are supposed to work, so what Marie is describing is very much common but not normal. What is normal about the way the gastrointestinal tract, the digestive system is supposed to work, is that we really should be pooping after we eat, so after a meal. So you should be pooping 1 to 3 times a day. So the first warning sign, if you are not pooping 1 to 3 times a day, is that your digestion system isn't working optimally. And why is that important? Well, most of our immune system sits in the gut, and the gut and the brain are connected by what's called a superhighway, by the vagus nerve. So if there's something not working optimally in the gut, there's something not working optimally in your brain and so in your whole system. So we need to sort that out. So how often are you pooping? So Marie's told us she's pooping every 2 days. First sign, and her question is this normal? It is common, but not normal. We're going to talk more about what to do about that. Second question is, does your poop float or sink? So this is a really key indicator. So the first thing to do is you actually have to look at your poop. You need to do a poop and you need to look in the bowl and condition yourself and those around you to know what your poop looks like. You know, most people that know me know that I've got a dog, and I was describing my dog's poop this morning over the breakfast table. And, you know, my children were groaning, and I was saying, oh, Cookie did this enormous poop this morning. It was, the length of 2 hands. I haven't seen anything like it. And so in my head, I'm a scientist after all. I'm thinking, oh goodness, I'm dissecting what he ate yesterday, and I was working out that must have been working really well for him. And so, I want to normalize this conversation about what your poop looks like get to know it for yourself, and don't be afraid to have the courage to talk about it and to think, what am I doing that's working for me, and what could I be doing that might be creating my system to be needing some support? So what might not be working so well? So is your poop floating or is it sinking? That your poop should sink to the bottom, no skid marks. So there's a couple of things. When it's floating on the top and when there's skid marks, basically that means that there's something going on with the liver, probably with the liver gallbladder, something going on with your ability to digest fats. So because we don't want to see greasiness, we don't want to see sliminess, we don't want to see any sort of fat in the stool. And if it's carrying fat, then it will float to the top. And if it's leaving like big skid marks, that means that, there's some issue there. It's got too much fat in the stool. So we want it to be easy to pass, and we want it to look like a sausage or a snake. So if you Google, this will be the best tip ever if you don't know it. If you Google something called the Bristol stool chart, you'll basically see thousands and thousands of images of what your poop is supposed to look like. And they grade the images from type 1 to a type 5. And we're looking for you to be like a type 3 or 4, which basically looks like a sausage or a snake. So it should be a nice log. Some people say sausage, some people say snake. So that's a key question that I ask people. What does your poop look like? A sausage or a snake? Or is it looking more like cow patty? Or some people describe it as like marshmallow or foam, or is it, super dry like pebbles? And so when it's super dry like that, basically it means that you're not pooping enough, and it's basically the too much water has been reabsorbed back into the body. So the stool is spending too long in your system. we're looking at about a transit time. So from the time you eat something to the time you poop, we're looking at about 18 to 24 hours. So longer than that, the stool is going to be too dry, and you might see that as like pebbles or pooping less often. And shorter than that is when something's moving too quickly through your system and it's carrying too much of the water out. And that's where we see more soft stools. So getting back to our key indicators, what about if your poo smells? And there's that famous saying about, your shit don't stink. So it is actually really important. Your poop is not supposed to smell. So a lot of people don't know this, but you should be in and out of the bathroom. It should be really easy to pass, flush away, and someone should be able to go into the bathroom afterwards and not notice anything at all. So that's how it really should look. One of the things I am really passionate about is doing the right investigation in terms of if people do need to explore what might be going on with any digestive issues. And so I want to talk about that in a couple of ways. The first thing is opening up what I call the drainage pathway. So opening up the body's ability to move things out of the body is really important. And poop is a really key channel. So we've got a few key ways for the body to eliminate waste. We've got the lymphatic system, and that ends up through the poop. We've got the kidneys, and that's through the wee. We've got our breath, and we've also got sweat. So the first thing is I want to make sure that those systems are working for you, that you're weeing a good amount, that you're pooping a good amount, and that you have the ability to sweat. And that means that, as we age, those systems don't often work as well. So it's really important to encourage those systems to eliminate waste from the body. One of the assessment methods that I use in my clinical practice is a DNA stool test. I absolutely love this test, and I've never had a single client when we haven't gone through the results of their test where they've been blown away about what they now know about their body. And those of you who know me know that I'm really passionate about empowering you with information that you need to know about your own body, because, first of all, you've only got one body, right? You've only got one temple. And so it's really important that you know how it's working and what support it needs. So this DNA stool test, the one I run, is called the GI map, gives us so much information. We can see what's going on with the gut lining itself. We can see if there's any damage, and that can be caused from bugs, that can be caused from food sensitivities, that can be caused from chemicals, that can be caused from stress. So many things affect the quality of that gut lining. But don't you want to know if your gut lining is nice and intact, or if it's got gaping holes in it that allow bugs and waste into the bloodstream to cause issues down the line. Now, I'm always talking about disease, and especially man-made disease. It doesn't just happen. It doesn't just turn up and you've got cancer or you've got some sort of illness. No, it's been building. The imbalances and the dysfunction have been building 10, 20, 30 years prior. So this DNA stool test, I think, is a game changer. We can see imbalances before they become pathology. And for me, I just think, it'll save you so much money to run this test. But anyway, we'll talk about why. Recently, I ran one on myself, and, I have very good gut health. I poo, unlike Marie, I'm pooing, multiple times a day, every day. But one of the things that our family do for prevention is run this stool test, so we can make sure that we are in optimal health or moving in that direction. So I wanted to see the degree of leakiness, even though I look after myself and what's on the end of my fork is great. My movement is balanced. I sleep really well. There are things outside of my control and things going on that, may or may not affect my gut lining. So I can see how leaky my gut is from this test. I can see the degree that my pancreas is excreting pancreatic enzyme. Now, that's really important, because that means I understand how well or how not well I'm breaking down my food. And if I'm not breaking down my food at the pancreas, it's not able to arrive at the gut in the way that my body needs to move nutrients to my cells to make healthy cells. In my particular example, my pancreatic output was very, very low, completely suboptimal. And so what I, now need to do is investigate why. But what I can do now is support myself with digestive enzymes to give my pancreas the support it needs, so that when I'm, eating my clean protein and my nourished bowl with my eggs and my veggies or my salmon, I know that I need digestive enzymes because I've seen the evidence that my pancreas isn't outputting the appropriate amount of enzymes to be digesting even my healthy food. So that was really, really enlightening for me to see that. And then I have to go, down a deeper investigation and work out why. Am I too stressed while I'm eating, which is compromising my digestion? Has there been some condition which has depressed my pancreatic output? And I need to work on that. But the biggest insight is that I have the data and I know where I'm at and I know where I want to get to. And so now we can make a plan around that. The other thing that I think is really great to see is your immune system. So we can see the strength of your immune system, and most of our immunity sits in our gut. So I can see the ability for me to defend myself. And it was really interesting. My immune system was quite low, and I've got a viral history. So it's not surprising to me that my immune system is low. It's something that I do work on really hard. And my husband's immune system was on fire. So immediately we could see that, he's probably likely to have some food sensitivities because his immune system was on like really, really high alert. And now we know we have to go down and do some deeper investigation to determine, what foods he's reacting to, because something is, really putting him on high alert. So much was revealed from that stool test. And then, of course, not to mention, you see your balance of microbes. You see the good guys and how healthy and strong they are and what you can do to really boost them. And you see the critters, and you see, they're all critters, but you can see the bad guys, and you can see if there's parasites, if there's fungi, yeast, candida, bacterial overload, where the body needs some support in removing the critters that are unwanted and that the body's having trouble maintaining a healthy balance of. And so, there's lots of things that we can do to restore the balance of the gut. And in doing that, well, what's going to happen? So I can now digest my beautiful clean proteins and my healthy fats. I can make sure that my liver gallbladder is able to process those. And that means that nutrients are instead of having like lots of big particles of food sitting in my gut, I'm actually going to have lovely nutrients at a molecular level that are able to make their way into the bloodstream and go to the cells where they're needed, so I can make healthy cells and I can eliminate unhealthy cells. So in effect, I'm getting healthier, I'm not getting sicker. And that's really important. And so that's why I love the DNA stool test, the GI map, so much. So we've digressed a little bit from Marie's question, I'm pooping every 2 days, is that normal? And we talked about, well, no, that is common, but not normal. We really, Marie, want to see you pooping after every meal. So 1 to 3 times a day. And what can we do to help us with that? So, of course, it's really important to give yourself, to support yourself with the right practitioner therapeutic grade supplements where needed. So there's some fantastic supports these days, full of really beautiful ingredients. So there's gut healing supports that have got things like glutamine and slippery elm and marshmallow. You can have a little elixir of aloe vera juice with your meals that can really help support digestion. We can take antimicrobials and antiparasitic herbs, like on the GI map, you'll see where they're indicated. So there's wonderful supports like black walnut and berberine to help, and oil of oregano to really help move things out of the system where we need to do some killing. And one of my favorite supports is digestive enzymes, because every year over 30, and the research is always evolving, we're always learning more. Our ability to digest, in particular protein, becomes more compromised. So I'm always suggesting give yourself some support with digestive enzymes, so that you can make sure that you are breaking down that protein before it arrives at the gut, so it arrives as a particle and not as actual food pieces. And a lot of time people are coming to me saying, I'm literally seeing whole pieces of food I can see spinach, and I can see, carrots, and I can see things just literally moving through the system. So some things are normal to see in the poop. Often you'll see things like corn. Corn is a fiber, it doesn't digest. So don't freak out if you see corn in your poop. I would expect that. In fact, that's a test I often do to test transit time. So I'll get people to eat some corn and then wait and see when it turns up in the poop. So some seeds as well don't digest, like flaxseed or linseed. And sometimes beetroot doesn't digest if you don't chew it up properly either. And on that note, beetroot is a wonderful support for the liver and gallbladder. It really helps to stimulate the production of bile, and bile is so wonderful to help us digest and emulsify our healthy fats. I want to talk about some other supports from food-wise that are really, really great for the bowel. One of my favorite things to talk about is fiber. So most people are not eating enough fiber. Think of fiber as feeding the good guys in your gut. So we talked about that balance of good guys and bad guys, and there's always going to be a balance. But we want the good guys, the critters, to be really strong, and we want your immune system to be really, really strong. But just like a garden needs fertilizing, those critters need food. And one of the things they love is veggies. Some veggies are even more important than others. So prebiotic foods are wonderful, and some great prebiotic veggies are things like asparagus, garlic, and onion. There's things that the gut absolutely loves, and you've probably heard of things like kimchi and sauerkraut, fermented foods that the gut loves as well. Cooked and cooled starches are quite good too. So we're looking at, there's great studies that show cooked and cooled rice, or cooked and cooled potato, white potato or sweet potato. So it's a really good way to have leftovers, like to cook your starchy carbs the night before, but then eat them the next day, because they change your molecular structure and they actually provide this really good source of food for the bowel. So we love those foods, and it's a great way to eat those foods that you may think are too carby for you. So I love prebiotic foods. I love, green bananas are another great prebiotic food. So green banana, what I mean by that is a firm banana. So a firm banana is completely different to a really soft, maybe brown spotty banana. So the brown spotty is a banana where the sugars in there are quite high, whereas a green banana, often they can taste a little bit chewy, a little bit chalky. I love them like that, actually. So they are wonderful food for the bowel. So that is a few tips for you, how to really feed the colony in your bowel, how to ensure that you are providing your body the support it needs to digest. I mean, above all, one of the biggest things is to make sure that you are in a relaxed state for digestion. A great trick to make sure that you are in a relaxed state for digestion is to wait to salivate. So it's actually a really hard thing to do, and something that we don't probably do that often. But just like, you might walk into someone's house and smell something cooking, and you immediately start salivating. Like, that's what we want when we sit down to eat. Some beautiful rituals like prayer, like saying what you're grateful for at the dinner table. There's some things that I like doing. So really what it does is it creates an environment of connection to beautiful, nourishing food, connection to other human beings, and that will relax your body enough to stimulate the digestive process and to get those juices moving. We want the stomach to secrete stomach acid. We want the pancreas to secrete pancreatic enzymes. We want the brain to start talking to our digestive organs. We really want the body to get into the optimal state of digestion. So, and, have fun at your meals, talk about your day, talk about, if you can't think of something to say, ask someone there what was one thing they loved about their day, and it will start the conversation. It will stimulate the joy in yourself, in those around you. Another a wonderful tip, which just seems so intuitive, is to slow down. And I suppose one thing I work on is slowing down while I eat, because I love my food so much. But if you're not careful, you can just open your eyes again and it's all gone. You're like, oh no. So I'm always watching slow eaters. My father is a slow eater. One of my best friends, he's a very slow eater. And I'm fascinated by the difference between fast eaters and slow eaters and how that all ended up happening anyway. Human beings are just such fascinating creatures. But if you are a fast eater, one thing you do need to do is be really purposeful about slowing down. And I, for one, can really appreciate how tricky that can be. So to summarize, thank you so much, Marie, for your question. And your question is, I'm pooping every 2 days. Is that normal? That is, we talked about that this is definitely common, but not normal. So we really want, Marie, we want to get you pooping more often. One key thing that we haven't discussed, but I love talking about, is hydration. So it's really important that you are well hydrated. If your system isn't lubricated, you're not going to be able to move things through your system. So hydrate, fiber. So fiber doesn't mean going out into, the chemist or the supermarket and buying some, psyllium husk that might be just not a great quality, that's really irritating to the gut. Just focus on real food sources of fiber, veggies, nuts and seeds like chia seeds and linseeds are wonderful. And my last tip for you is a really nice thing to do is to make yourself what I call apple pectin, or you can do pear pectin, or you can mix apple and pear pectin. This is when you will gently stew the fruit, the apple and the pectin, apple and the pear, with the peel on. Stew it till it's really shiny, and that means the fruits are releasing something called pectin, which is very soothing to the gut. And you'll often see apple pectin in some really nice prebiotic supports as well. So it's a beautiful support. And Marie, if you try stewed fruit like that, you'll probably find you're doing some really much, your digestion will be improved, and you'll be doing some good quality stools in no time. We talked about the GI map, the DNA stool test. Honestly, test, don't guess. If in your heart of hearts if something is not working for you. So do yourself a favor and do the investigation so you know why, and you're not just shooting in the dark and guessing. I love people to find out what's going on. I love people to learn about their body. When you do the investigation, you can actually do something about it. And then finally, I'm always talking to you about what is going on. I like to think of myself as a health linguist. So dissecting the language, are you saying to yourself, I've never been a good pooer. I don't believe I can do that. And if you are, visualize someone that is a really good pooer, visualize someone with great digestion. You can give your subconscious a command that basically says, my digestion is as good as Peter's. And that's a really nice way to give your subconscious some instructions. But when you're dissecting what's going on in your body, how are you eating? What are you drinking? Does your poo smell? Is it floating? Don't forget to dissect what is going on in your language as well. Like what are you telling yourself? What do you believe? Words are clothes for your beliefs. So what is going on either as internal chatter, or what are you saying to other people? And if you don't know, ask them, they'll tell you. What are you saying about your digestion? And that is the first step to change, because if it's not, if the language is not that of, healthy, productive language around what you want to achieve, well, you've got some work to do, but you're not going to know unless you write it down. So get a piece of paper. On the left side of the page, write everything that you think about the problem that you're trying to solve. So in which case, everything you're thinking about, everything you're saying to yourself about your digestion, whether you're pooping every 2 days, whether you're bloated, whether you think you're never going to be able to solve that problem, your belly always swells up after you eat, all those things, get it out there, because unless you understand the data, you're not going to be able to get to where you want to go. So that's a really, really good exercise as well. The reason this topic is so important to me, we recently did a study on energy. And so I've got a great energy quiz. If anyone wants it, on my website, feelbetterinstitute.com, 10 question, how's your energy quiz? It's a fabulous one. Only 4% of people, and we've run this study on over 7,000 people now, this quiz, only 4% of people are pooping, have optimal digestion. So more than 9 out of 10 people are not, their system isn't working optimally. I mean, this is a problem. This is a big problem to solve. So, I want you to take responsibility for your own health and nutrition and find out what is going on and let me know how we can support you. And that's all for today. I hope you are all amazing. Love to you all. Bye-bye. Keep reaching to feel better, because the world needs you to feel good so you can share that very special gift that only you have. And if you want more, check out my next video here.